Hi everyone, welcome back to Intuitive Reading. My name is Lauren, and today we are going to talk about my January reads. This is my January wrap-up. So in January, I don't feel like I read a lot of books. I'm really surprised with how much I got read in January. We've had a lot going on, and I just can't believe I even read this much. I did DNF 4 books this month, and I will talk about those as well. But the first book that I'm going to start with is called In the Shadow of Jezebel by Misu Andrews. This was my first Misu Andrews book, and I did really enjoy this one. I will admit it started out kind of slow. I did have to get used to her writing because it was a little different than what I was used to, but I did end up really enjoying this book. This book is about Jehoshaphat, who is the main character, and they also called her Sheba in the book. So that was a bit confusing because they would kind of switch back and forth, but they were talking about the same persons. Jehoshaphat is a princess, and her family worship the god Baal. And she is really dedicated and devoted to Baal, and through a series of circumstances, she ends up marrying Jehoiada, who is Yahweh's high priest. And so Jehoiada has dedicated his life to Yahweh, and he really shows Jehoshaphat, how good God is and his faithfulness. And so she learns also to trust and follow Yahweh as well. Now, Jehoshaphat's mother is really like conniving, and she's always scheming, and she's just really not a good person. This is really about Jehoshaphat's character growth, and you see how she changes from worshiping Baal to realizing the goodness and faithfulness of God. She just completely changes. The faith content in this book was fantastic. I did give this 5 stars. The next book I read is called Mission Merry Christmas, and this is a book by Nancy Nagel. Nancy Nagel's books have kind of been hit or miss for me. There have been some that I really liked and others I didn't, or just thought they were okay. This is a book that I thought was just okay. I liked the premise of the story, but for me it just kind of fell flat and it's forgettable. So we have the main character, Avery, who is a sports therapist, and at the beginning of the book she loses her job. She's kind of unfairly fired. So Avery is talking to her friend on the phone, and her friend has this client who is a baseball player, and he had an injury, and she sent out all kinds of aides to help rehab him and get him back to where he can play professionally again. And he has not liked anybody they have sent, and he's fired all of the aides that they have sent. So her friend says, hey, since you lost your job, why don't you fly down to the Caribbean? And this is where he's kind of hiding out. He doesn't want anybody to know that he was injured because he's afraid that he'll lose his job, basically. And so her friend says, why don't you go down there and see if you can help him with his rehabilitation and all of that. And, so the story kind of goes on from there. like I said, it was okay. It was a cute little Christmas story. Really forgettable, honestly. The next book I read was A Match Made at Christmas by Courtney Walsh. Really enjoyed this story. This was such a cute book. This was another like novella length book. Really loved this book. This book is about Prudence and Hayes, and they've always been best friends. And Prudence, she owns her own like surf shop where she makes surfboards. She's an artist and she makes these surfboards and sells them locally. And she's kind of famous for it. And they have always liked each other, but they've never really said anything to each other. They've just always been good friends because they're kind of scared to mess up the friendship. Through a series of events, Hayes becomes a matchmaker, and he enlists Prudence to help him match up some friends of theirs, and the story kind of goes on from there. It's really cute. I loved their banter, and it was just a cute holiday story. This is one I could see me reading again, just because the story kept me entertained and interested, and I just really, really loved it. I fell in love with these characters, and they were both very likable characters, which I enjoyed. The next book I read is The Warsaw Sisters by Amanda Barrett, and this was a buddy read I did with Amanda over at Book Lover Amanda. I'll link her channel down below. But this book was kind of a disappointment, to be honest. I really wanted to like this book, and I just didn't like it as much as I wanted to. You know that I love World War II historical fiction. That is my jam. That is my genre. And I have read a lot of World War II historical fiction. This just kind of fell flat for me. So let me talk about what I did like about the book. So this is about two sisters, Antonina and Helena, and I really liked their relationship. They are two very different characters. They have different personalities, but I did really like seeing them interact and their relationship and everything like that. So that was the part of the story I really liked. They take different paths in life during the war, and you just really see them kind of grow as people. And what I didn't like about it is some parts were just boring. I feel like parts of it dragged, especially when it was talking about the fighting and stuff. There was a lot of like resistance fighting and everything in this, and I just didn't like that as much as I liked the stories, like the story about the sisters. And this is dual timeline, which makes it a little bit harder because you have to follow which character is which and all of that. But I did like it. I think I gave this 3 stars. So that's not a bad rating. That was, to me, it was just okay. I didn't hate it, but I don't see me rereading this one. Yeah, and I hate to say that, but yeah, I just don't see me rereading this. It was just kind of okay. And I forgot to say, I did give A Match Made at Christmas 4 stars. So the next book I did read was The Crown by Kira Cass. This is the next book. What is it, like the 4th or 5th book in the selection series? So some of you may know, if you've been following my videos, or Amanda over at Book Lover Amanda, we have done a buddy read of almost all of these books. And the last book, I believe it was The Heir, that was our last buddy read of these books. And she really did not like it. It was not one of my favorites either. The main character was just really stuck up and just really entitled, and in that book she was really annoying. I'll admit that was not one of my favorites, but I really feel like she kind of redeemed herself in this book. I feel like in this book we saw more character growth with her, and I actually did like her more in this one than in The Heir. So this is about Edelyn, and her parents did a selection originally in the first 3 books. That was their story. And so now their daughter Edelyn is older and she's going through her own selection. And this book really brings out her story. She's trying to make her own mark in the world, and it was really nice to see her kind of grow as a character. Now, one thing about this book in particular, this is a YA series. It's young adult. It is clean. There's some kissing scenes. There's a little bit of violence, not much. And I'm trying to think what else. Content-wise, this book does have a same-sex couple, so just want to throw that out there for content purposes. That is in here, but it's very brief. They're not main characters. They're side characters, and it's very brief. It does talk about that, but so just so you know, for content purposes. I did give this book 4 stars. I did enjoy it, and I'm not sure if I'm going to read any more in this series, but we'll see. I just needed kind of a palate cleanser because Warsaw Sisters was kind of heavy, so I wanted something kind of light and fluffy that I could just fly through. The next book I read was Finally Christmas by T. Williams. And shout out T if you're watching this. I so enjoyed this book. This was the light, fluffy Christmas romance that I was looking for. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. This was a book about our main character, Meredith. And she is new to Christianity. She grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. And so she has come to this new church, and this is her first year celebrating Christmas. So her friends at church really want to make it special for her. And since she is also new to Christianity as well, they want to make it special. And at church, she meets Mason, who is just smitten from the beginning. And that is so sweet. Like, I just love that. They're both kind of smitten. It's kind of a love at first sight type thing. But, you know, they take things slow. Mason has been in a relationship before, and he learned a lot from that. And so he's like, now I want to do things God's way. Like, I want to find like the perfect person that God has for me and everything. And so when he meets Meredith, he's like, okay, she's it. Like, this is who God has put in my path, and this is who, you know, I want to be with. So it's really just like about their relationship, and Mason is a really sweet character. Like, I need more from this. T, write another book in this with this couple, because this was absolutely great. Or there is also another couple in this book that are minor characters. I would also love to see a book about them. So just throwing that out there. No pressure, but I did really enjoy this book. If you are interested in like a short, sweet Christmas read that is a Christian romance, Please check this book out. T is part of our Christian BookTube community, and I really wanted to support her and read her book, and I'm so glad I did. Please check it out if you haven't. I will try to link it below, and yeah, it was just great. The next book I read. Okay, hear me out. I know when I started BookTube, I said that The Chronicles of Narnia was not my favorite. Okay. I did read those books several years ago. I'm trying to reread them again to see if I have the same opinion, because I am trying to participate in the Christian fantasy read-a-thon that Morgan is doing at Morgan's Endless Bookshelf. I will try to link her video down below for that if you're interested in doing that read-a-thon. I am rereading some of the books for that read-a-thon. So this month I did read The Magician's Nephew. This is the first book, I think, technically in the series. It was if you're going by publication order. So The Magician's Nephew I read for the prompt of an allegorical story. This book, I loved it. I had forgotten, I think the first time I read this, I had rated this 4 stars, and I forgot that I had liked it. I really had forgotten the story, what this was about. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. This is about Diggory and Polly, and they meet during the summer and become friends. And Diggory's uncle is like a magician, or he thinks he's a magician, and he tries to do all these experiments and stuff, and he creates something that can take them into a magical world, which is Narnia, and they encounter the evil sorceress Jadis, and all kinds of adventure ensues, and they do end up coming home. So this book I also used for Amanda at Book Lover Amanda, her 2025 Southern Comfort Reading Challenge. I used this book for the January prompt of Southern Homecomings, a book where a character goes home, because the 2 main characters, Polly and Diggory, they go to Narnia and then they come back home. So that was what I used for that prompt. This book I believe I gave it 4 stars, if I remember right. Yeah, pretty sure I gave this 4 stars. The last book I read for the month of January is Resistance by Jennifer A. Nielsen. And this book I really, really enjoyed. I think this is probably my favorite of the ones that I've read of hers. And I did put some tabs for some of the quotes and stuff that I really liked in this. Surprisingly, this book does talk about God a little bit in it. There were several times where God is mentioned and faith, and I really enjoyed that. I was pleasantly surprised to see that in here. So, but this is probably my favorite one so far of the books of hers that I have read. So we have our main character, and I believe her name is pronounced Haya Lindner, and she's a teenager living in Nazi-occupied Poland, and she is Jewish, but she doesn't have a lot of the characteristics that would characterize her as someone who's Jewish. So she is able to kind of travel around undetected, and this really serves her well because she is able to pose as a Polish citizen with forged papers. So she is able to travel in and out of the ghettos and provide basic necessities and things that people need to survive. And she also helps smuggle things out and people out of the ghettos. So she really does a lot of resistance work, and she really wants to make a difference. That's really like her thing, is she wants to make a difference in the war. And she also does some resistance fighting as well, which, again, I didn't love as much, but for some reason in this book, the way it was written, it was more interesting than the Warsaw Sisters. I don't know. But anyway, this book I did give 4 stars, really enjoyed it. So now I'm going to talk about the books that I did DNF this month. Several of these are from my 25 books in 2025, unfortunately. But hey, I tried, you know. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Ender's Game. This one I was really looking forward to. I thought this would be really cool. This is by Orson Scott Card, and I really thought I was going to love this, but there was too much language. I just could not do the language. And that's really unfortunate because I feel like the premise would have been good, but I just could not. I think I don't even think I got through like the first or second chapter. So yeah, I was kind of bummed about that. But the next book I DNF'd, this one I got out of a little free library, so I'm not too bummed about this. I just wanted to try it. I had heard of it, but I wasn't really sure with content and everything what it would be like. And this one I also DNF'd due to language as well. This is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. So yeah, again, I read the back of this and thought the premise sounded really good, but yeah, just too much language for me. So I really hate that. The next book is 10-Pound Penalty by Dick Francis. This book also, language, I just couldn't do it. You know, I tried, but yeah, unfortunately this just, the language I couldn't do. And then the last DNF that I had for the month was Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi, I think is how you say her name. I was so disappointed because I really thought this would be good and I really thought I would like it. I got about halfway through this book and it was just okay for me. Like, it was all right. But halfway through, the language, I just couldn't do it. Like, there was no, that I can remember, there was no language up until about halfway through. And then I was just like, nope, can't do it. Yeah, so unfortunately, all of these books had language and I had to DNF them, which also means that I'm DNFing the rest of this series. I had gotten the box set as a gift several years ago, and they've just been sitting on my shelves. And the first book was picked for me for my 25 and 2025 to try this year. So yeah, unfortunately I won't be reading the rest of this series. So, yeah, I'm getting rid of all of these books. But yeah, I will be getting rid of those DNFs. And I will probably have them in the next book unhaul, which I need to do very soon. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another one very soon. Bye.